Today, I'm really excited because I'm at the new Micro Center in Santa Clara, California that just opened up, and I'm gonna be picking out some software developer laptops. And I'm gonna pick one to take back to the office to do some software developer tests. Inside there's customers, so I'm gonna have to behave myself. There are hundreds of laptops in here, along with all the usual goodies, especially the build your own department. Check out all these cases and video cards. This one is gold and signed by Jensen Huang. Today, the goal is to cover the best laptops for programmers. They're gonna be on the pricey side, but there are a couple under 1,000, depending on what's important to you. Now, there's a lot of different developer types out there, but I was doing web development, mobile development, .NET for a long time, and now I'm getting into machine learning. So those are the four personas that I'm going to cover today. The most important decision you're going to make, which is the ecosystem, and that's the processor type. Intel, AMD, Qualcomm Snapdragon, and Apple are your top four choices here.
All right, let's start with AMD, and I'll drop in some thoughts on how these machines actually feel to use.
This is the Asus VivoBook S16, and it's got an AMD chip in it. Now with the AMD, you're going to want to look at Zen 5 architecture, which is their latest right now. And I've actually tested this one on the channel before. This is the Ryzen AI 9 HX 370. And that is a powerful chip, but also a long-lasting chip. That's not a bad score at all. That's a pretty decent score right there for those web devs that are doing JavaScript applications. Sorry, I can't run compilation tests here, just browser-based ones, because they're gonna kick me out if I do that. Now this store just opened, so they have a bunch of sales going on, and this is on sale for $11.49. Pretty decent price, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. And what I specifically like about this S16 is that it's solid.
The keyboard is snappy with full-size keys and a numpad. Not a big fan of the numpad, but for those that like it, here it is. The touchpad is massive and glassy, although it is the old diving board design, and the 3.2K OLED screen. Wow, that's gorgeous. It is glossy though, so watch out for that glare. Depends on your environment. And I made a video about this recently. I'll link to that down below so you can check out my thoughts on glossy versus matte.
Now this machine is relatively inexpensive. It's the Acer Nitro 17. It's got a Ryzen 7 chip inside. As you can see, the web dev score is not that great, but the price of the machine is only $799 on sale, so that's not bad. But why am I telling you about this? Well, it's got an NVIDIA card inside, and that is a low-end NVIDIA card. It's a 4060. However, if you're a budding machine learning enthusiast, then this is kind of like a gateway machine for CUDA development, because CUDA is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, it is the most popular platform to be developing machine learning.
The RGB keyboard's a bit squishy, but workable. Again, the numpad, not a fan of that, but that's just a personal choice. The trackpad here is pretty spacious and it's smooth, diving board design of course, and that 17-inch 165Hz screen is better than you'd expect at this price, though the contrast is just okay.
So this will get you there at a lower cost. I told you there's going to be machines under $1,000. I wanted to show you the most powerful AMD chip that they have here, but they're sold out right now because this is a very in-demand machine, and I just recently reviewed it. It's the Asus Flow Z13. You can check out the video down below.
That one has a detachable keyboard that actually feels solid, pretty comfortable to use. And that screen, it's small, but it's stunning. A QHD Plus panel with rich colors and up to 180 Hz refresh rate. Just keep in mind, it's sort of a tablet laptop hybrid kind of form factor.
I did kick things off with AMD, and also Intel is in that same kind of category of machines because they're both x86 platforms. These are going to be the most common for software developers because you're going to be able to support the most amount of software out there. I'll talk about ARM-based chips in a bit, but the other one that's also going to be x86 is Intel. Where the heck is it? I'm kind of lost because this store is new to me. I don't know where anything is. There's a lot of stuff here, but I'm looking for the Asus VivoBook Intel-based version of the S16, and I don't think they have it on display, but they do have it in stock. I checked the store this morning, and we're back here. One that's very performant and inexpensive is, again, the Asus VivoBook S16, and this time it's the Intel version. I'm gonna warn you right now, be very careful with Intel. Stay away from the Core i9 or i7 because those are the older ones and those are going to be hot and loud. With Intel chips, there's two things that really matter. Do you want high performance or do you want long life? And I don't mean the laptop's gonna die. I mean the battery is gonna last you all day or not. Lunar Lake chips are kind of lower powered chips. Those are the ones that end in a V or a U, but they're gonna last a while. However, if you want high performance, look for chips that end in H. Those are the Arrow Lake chips. And the VivoBook S16 comes with an Intel Core Ultra 9 285H. So it's gonna give you that high performance, and it costs just $50 more than the AMD version.
Same keyboard and screen as the AMD version, so still a great typing experience and that vivid OLED. But now it's got that H series chip that gives you a serious performance bump.
This is the LG Gram, and it's on the higher end. It's got the Intel Core Ultra 7 255H, so it's got that high performance chip inside. Also 17-inch screen. That's one thing I didn't discuss yet, is screen real estate. I'm a fan of big screens, but not past 16 inches. 17 might be pushing it a little bit. Then there's 18-inch screen. Let's take a look at one of those. By the way, if you're working with a 14 or smaller screen, you're gonna be severely limited. So you're gonna wanna get probably something like this. Here's some external mobile displays that you can take along with you. I've actually shown a few on the channel. They come in various sizes, touch capabilities, not touch capabilities, OLED, non-OLED. Oh, and if you don't wanna buy an extra monitor, you can just get one of these. This is the ZenBook Duo, and it already comes with a second screen built in. In fact, I just did a review on this recently. You can check it out. I'll link to it down below.
Now, if you're a multitasker, this ZenBook Duo gives you 2 OLED screens, both super sharp, both color accurate. I really like this laptop. If I was to pick one laptop that's not my daily driver MacBook, sorry folks, I'm still kind of partial to those, but if I were to pick one, this would be it. The magnetic keyboard is solid, and when it's docked, you still get a real glass trackpad. The trackpad here is probably one of the weakest points, but considering I'm a mouse user anyway, I don't really need to deal with that much.
Check out this 18-inch monster right here. Speaking of Intel processors, this is the Core Ultra 9 275HX. So it's gonna have performance, and it's gonna give you an RTX 5090 in there. So you're gonna be able to do machine learning tasks, whether you're starting out or you're a little bit more advanced. 64 gigabytes of RAM. This is the Asus Scar 18. I just did a review with it, comparing it to the M4 Max MacBook Pro. That video is either out now or coming out soon, but this is a crazy laptop, and it costs over $5 grand. Look at that. Right now, it's on sale for $36.79. You're saving $1,800 on it. That machine is a monster and a beast, and it actually destroyed the M4 Max MacBook Pro in a couple of tests. I'm just gonna add that while I think this is a great machine and is good for gaming, it'll really be good for programming. But as a laptop, it's very, very heavy. You're probably not gonna be taking it places. And also it'll last like an hour.
Keyboard is firm and fast, and the trackpad is massive. Again with the number pad though, come on, why is that on so many laptops that I like? This thing is a bit overkill for dev work, but no one's complaining if you get this machine, especially because you're gonna be really strong after carrying this thing around.
So if you're looking at something like this, you better be really, really into gaming or machine learning. But at this point, why not get a desktop? We're switching gears right now, looking at Qualcomm's Snapdragon chip. A couple things I gotta say about this. Here's one of them right here. This is the Asus VivoBook S15. So it's a 15-inch laptop, and it's got the Snapdragon X Elite chip inside.
The S15 OLED has the same great typing feel as the S16. It's just an inch smaller, but no one's complaining. And the trackpad is just as big. The 2.8K OLED screen is a win for color accuracy, but watch out for silver keycaps. Those are kind of hard to read when it's backlit.
All right, now I've reviewed many Snapdragon X Elite and X Plus laptops on the channel before. However, I gotta say this, they have the longest battery life because they're extremely efficient, very quiet. Qualcomm did a really amazing job with this chip. Now, if you're a Windows developer and you're doing Visual Studio stuff, this thing will run circles with Visual Studio for ARM, and that's key here. You're gonna be running Windows for ARM, but not all the workloads are available. If you're a web developer using Visual Studio, you're doing .NET applications, then you're fine. Blazor works beautifully on it. So those are the cases where you'd want something like that, is if you're a web dev and you're doing Visual Studio and you don't mind that you're using Windows on ARM. Not all the software is available yet. There's an emulation layer. It's kind of like when Apple started out with the M series processors and not everything was compatible. There was the Rosetta translation layer. Well, same thing here. Windows has their own Prism translation layer. If you're okay with that, it works beautifully and it lasts a really long time. And the best system that I've ever seen using that is the Microsoft Surface. I've tested the Surface laptop on the channel before. It is not a cheap machine, but it works amazingly well. The trackpad and the keyboard here are beautiful. Basically, it looks like a MacBook Air, right? they're kind of going after that styling. Now, watch out because there's a business edition of these, and then there's the non-business edition. The business edition runs an Intel chip for maximum compatibility, but it's going to cost you a lot more for the business edition than the non-business edition, which runs the Snapdragon X Elite and X Plus chips. And last year I did a battery test of these, and these lasted the longest out of any laptops I've ever measured. Microsoft and Qualcomm did a fantastic job collaborating on those, and I hope that they continue to do it.
Keyboard has more travel than I like, but still decent. Now, the haptic touchpad. This is actually excellent. This feature makes this laptop a standout in the PC world. Also, the 3x2 touchscreen. I like that aspect ratio. For coding, it's sharp and tall, great for fitting more lines of code in.
And next, let's talk about Apple. Apple always gets their own little section. I don't know, it's like a special thing, I guess. But why would you get one of these? Well, they're really expensive, right? That's what we know about Apple. Well, sort of. It depends what you get and what you're trying to do. So here's a machine that costs $899, sub $1,000. What can you do with this machine? This is the base model M4 chip, and I've actually made a few videos about these. An amazing little machine.
MacBook Air is still my go-to. Silent, speedy, and all-day battery. Keyboard is great. Trackpad is good. Is as good as it gets, really, on this trackpad here. The screen is really nice. It is only 60 Hertz though, and many people are getting tired of 60 Hertz. I think though, for coding, it's still just fine.
Now, if you're a Visual Studio developer, if you're in Windows, this is not for you. If you do web dev, these are great machines for that. For front-end web development, for back-end, so it depends like what you want. If you want the CLI, you can still get that. Now, you might be wondering, when is Alex going to talk about mobile app development? Well, now, if you're doing mobile development, applications for iPhone or Android, this is really the only way to go. M4 Pro or M4 Max. By the way, I'm saying M4, but I mean like the Apple ecosystem, starting with the M chips, M1 Pro, M1 Max, M2 Pro, M2 Max. You can get those on sale, and Micro Center even gets those in sometimes as refurbished items. I bought a MacBook Air once from Micro Center refurbished.
The Pro version takes it up a notch, literally. That display is 120 Hz, mini LED, and insanely bright. Keyboard and haptic trackpad are still unmatched. It's pricey, but if you're doing dev work or ML or any kind of media work, it's worth it.
For iOS development, mobile apps on the iPhone, you absolutely need to have a Mac for that. So you're kind of stuck. Android Studio works perfectly on it. If you're doing cross-platform, like with NativeScript, for example, or React Native, it'll run on this beautifully. This is the M4 Pro with 24 gigs of memory, and it's $2,200. So you're only getting 12 gigabytes of solid-state drive. I know, it's expensive, but a MacBook comes with other perks. In fact, my daily driver is an M4 Max MacBook Pro. It's got one of the best screens out there. It's got 120 Hertz refresh rate on the screen. It's got the best speakers out there, bar none. And you can consider the MacBook Airs to be like its little cousins, just a lot cheaper. Oh, and MacBooks happen to last a really long time too. They'll give you all-day battery life. I ended up with this LG Gram. Look how crazily thin this box is. I mean, this is good because I gotta fly with this thing. And it's a 17-inch LCD screen, Intel Core Ultra processor, 255H. H is for performance. Why H and not P? I don't know. You tell me in the comments down below. I'm sure you will. I'll test it back out in the office. By the way, if you catch this location of Micro Center during the opening days, enjoy an extra 20% off certain items. Insane deals inside. But if you're watching this later, don't worry. Micro Center is gonna have plenty of other deals going on throughout the year, and I'll be doing a few more videos with them, so keep an eye out, subscribe to the channel for more. See you back at the office. I really hope TSA doesn't have a problem with this. Wow, that's tight, but it fits. I've never had an LG. I like to kick things off on a positive message. The moment I unboxed it and powered it on, I was struck by the clarity of the screen. This screen is insane. I mean, it's bendy and flexible, but aside from that, it is such a beautiful screen to look at. Everything is crystal clear. The rendering of fonts is really nice, even on Windows. For developers, screen size matters, and this 17-inch display delivers. It's actually nearly as tall as my MacBook Pro, but noticeably wider. What's immediately striking, though, is how strange this laptop feels. It's huge, barely fits in my backpack, but incredibly light at the same time.
Hey, that's not a gram. So for portability, it's a solid 10 out of 10. I had to test it at my office away from office, Starbucks. Just a heads up, it's a little too wide for most small coffee tables, especially if you use a mouse like I do. So you'll want to find that larger table. The keyboard and trackpad are actually quite good here. Since developers spend most of the day in the code editor, the keyboard needs to be solid, and this one mostly is. Key travel feels great, but that numpad throws everything off for me. I keep missing the keys because I instinctively center myself, but the keyboard is offset while the trackpad is centered. It's mostly centered. 11.2 centimeters here. Yet 13.3 centimeters there. So it's not centered. But then is it centered to the keyboard? 9 centimeters? 4.5 centimeters. Really odd design choice, and it's disorienting. Even after a few days, it still feels odd. Also, no issues during casual dev work, but let me know in the comments if you want a deeper dive on this thing. This CPU is more powerful than Lunar Lake, so I expected strong compilation performance. And it delivered on my large.NET build. Build succeeded in 98 seconds. It's not bad. I also ran my usual Mandelbrot test in Python to stress all the cores, and that revealed a thermal issue, which isn't surprising for a laptop as thin as this. 31 seconds here on the LG Gram. I just ran this on the M4 MacBook Air. Got 35 seconds here. So this being a 10-core system and this one being a 16-core system, I would have expected this one to do a little bit better. But yeah, it's not bad. A little bit faster than the MacBook Air. So considering the MacBook Air is still a good development machine and I recommend it for developers, most developers, I can't say anything bad about this one. So running this again, yeah, these two processors are just not happy. Maybe they're just taking a break. Maybe they need a vacation. I don't know, but it's just not working. We're 31 seconds here and we should be seeing thermal throttling if it follows the pattern right after this. Thermal cam clearly shows 2 fans, 1 on each side here. Let's do it one more time. Really want to get it going here. And there it is. That thermal throttling is happening right now. We're at 61 seconds now. 42 degrees at that highest point right there. And I cannot even feel it here, which is great. To test the battery, I ran this through my custom-coded real-world developer loop. 30-minute chunks of coding, compiling, running scripts, listening to music, note-taking, researching, and watching videos, of course. Because who doesn't watch videos? I know you watch videos. The LG Gram has a massive 90 watt-hour battery, second only to the MacBook Pro 16-inch. And to my surprise, it outlasted even that. In high-performance mode, it beat the M4 Max, the M2 Max, and long runners like the ProArt PZ13 with the Snapdragon X Plus. It beat the Surface Laptop 7 X Plus. Seems like nobody can touch the LG Gram with that 90 watt-hour battery. Around 30%, it automatically switched to power saving mode. You can see that in the curve, which extended its life to an impressive 7 hours. But even without battery saving mode, you can extend that curve and it still would have come out on top. So buy it if you want a super lightweight 17-inch laptop for light to moderate dev work. Web development, scripts, Docker use. It's quiet enough, lasts long on battery, and won't weigh you down. Skip it if you're doing heavier things like mobile development, compiling big projects, running virtual machines, or doing anything CPU heavy for long periods of time, because it will throttle. It's a solid value if it's on sale. By the way, check the current pricing at Micro Center down in the description. At full price, it's too expensive in my opinion, even if it does have the best keyboard and trackpad and screen. At full price, you're better off with something like a MacBook Air at that point, unless you absolutely need a Windows machine. You find Visual Studio folks you. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching and thanks to Micro Center for sponsoring this video. You might also be interested in this video right over here, and I'll see you next time.